late game character power rankings. That's what this video is about. In this video, I detail the most powerful and the weakest characters. It's basically a rundown on what character does what and what you're going to need and their capabilities going forward. Hopefully when the DLC comes out, they'll have new characters. But let's start. The worst character I feel, even early game, is this character here, the mage. And the problem with this character is it doesn't do a whole lot of damage, does some area effect damage, and is flimsy as hell. This shows the base stats here, but even if we outfit this best we can, the best thing about this character is maybe just the wave heal. I've had situations where this character's been so close to being killed, and on extreme difficulty you get up to these tough monsters, this character will be one-shotted for sure, killed at one shot. And even at the lower level you're gonna get killed really easy too. So this is the worst, ranked number 15. Next up is the rogue, the early rogue, not the assassin. This character I felt did some decent damage, but it's so flimsy. You have to keep healing it, protecting it, and just hope it doesn't get into trouble. And plus, it's the kind of character where you're always outside the protective group of your offensive line, so she's out there whacking away at things, and same with everybody else. Not a lot of health, can be killed very, very easily. Some interesting items and some capabilities like the teleport capability, which is nice, but pretty much weak character. As soon as you can trade this character out with something else, do so. Next, we have Candy. And you may notice these are the characters that actually died when fighting for me, so I've taken all their good items and turned them into naked characters. Candy, I feel, is an alternative to the barbarian, early game character. Okay, but still weak. Can do a little bit of damage, and if you put a good weapon on her, she can use the lance. I mean the greatsword, which is decent, but not great. Overall, one of those characters that gets killed very, very easily. And that's what you don't want on extreme difficulty. You don't want any of your characters dying, because as soon as you lose one character, the mission usually goes to hell, because then everybody has to work twice as hard to keep it together. Everybody has a very, very, very specific role. Next up, we have the Warden. Now I know I like this character, and I still do. It's very situational, but late game, if they so much as fart near you, this guy gets blown to bits. And that's all he can do. He does have heavy bolas, which he can do to use to immobilize, and he can penetrate armor, which is very, very nice. But late game, the monsters hit hard, they have plenty of hit points, and you need to get characters in that can block and keep the line up. If you do have extra slots for him, he's great because he can continue to armor pierce, and with double power upgrade he can go right through and do some really hefty damage. And the speed is good, so he can kite and keep away from them too. Next up, this guy, the barbarian. I accidentally took this character on the very last mission, and I regret it, because this character turned into a glorified cheerleader. All she did was just had to stay out of the way and just cheer. She couldn't do anything. The armor's weak. Sure, she's got counter swing, but at that rate, at this level, who doesn't? The rage is nice, but you receive the poison on it, and that's the last thing you want. A lot of times you're going to be under so much attack and stress that you'll have about a third to maybe a half of your life off at most times, and it's very, very tough to keep this character alive. What I should have taken instead was a sorceress, a much better character. So the barbarian is one of those early game characters, but later on more of a liability than anything else. Next up, we have this guy, the fighter. He's okay. He's a decent meat shield, but not that much better than barbarians. He's counter swing. He's got counter swing. This dishearten, it's not a big deal. It just slows and weakens him a little bit. His mobility is utter garbage at 4, and when they stack a debuff on him, when that does happen, he won't move at all, meaning he's dead meat. The nice thing about him is he's got spiny too, which does help out. He's a good offensive line player. You just put him on the front line and he can spine with everybody else and help wear down your enemies. So he's okay, but not that great. But when you need another tank, by all means take him. Next, we have the Ranger. The Ranger is ultra flimsy, but it's fast. But there's one really good thing about the Ranger that really makes her valuable. And the reason why I took her on the very final mission, and that is this skill here, Shot of Courage. She deals 5 health to any ally 3 to 5 squares away and gives strength and block 2. For those characters that don't have the block, this is very important. And it's a good character if you can keep it far enough away to put the block to this Shot of Courage and to heal in emergency situations. You'll have situations where your character may lose 66% of his health on the first round, and this character can come in and save that character. Also, you can equip it with a good crossbow like this, and it will have armor piercing and block avoidance, so it'll go right through both of them. That is critical. So when she has a chance of not using Shot of Courage, you can use her to do some extra damage. And the damage is actually better than the Wardens because it's using this one weapon that can ignore the blocks. So you've seen those characters like the Shaman that have 5 or 6 blocks on there. It almost takes so many rounds to take down. Well, this character can really whack them hard. And 5 damage, you put a double on it, does 7. You can pretty much kill that thing in 1 round with the help of another character or a poison or something on it. So a decent character, but must be kept back out of the action far enough away. And in the mission 4th episode of the final mission, this character was instrumental in helping me hold the bridge in that last fight. Very useful, but flimsy. Next up, we have, let's go over here, this character here. When you look at this character, you think, well, it's kind of a weak character, can't really do a lot very good. Look at no armor piercing. It just inflicts a little poison. It's got a little spin, kind of like the variety, and weak. But if you need to have an extra mid-level tank, this character can do it because it gets bubble. And with bubble, you get a block 3. And block 3 is what the knight used to get. Block 3 is very nice. It means it's going to take very little damage. The block is going to absorb most of it. All the small yard trash is pretty much not going to even be able to hurt this character. So nice if you need somebody to plug the area and you don't want to put in something slower. So if you were to compare this character to, say, this guy, you should take this character, I feel. Because armor doesn't mean a whole lot in the game, and sure, they're 4 hit points away, but bubble 2 is great. You can get that a lot. Whereas this, there's no bubble at all. I had to always continually babysit that guy. Nice character, aggro 2, -2, which is nice. And like I said, can deliver some poison. Okay, next up, we have, let's see, I think I went over the Warden. Next up, the other good character is, it's a close tie between Snapjaw and this character. Let's take a look at both of them. This character has one advantage that Snapjaw doesn't. It can use a lance. And it has this here, piercing first lunge. It isn't strong, but it ignores armor, it goes lance for it, and deals 2 damage. But it can get into one of those things where if it's in a group and it's hit by an AoE, area of effect spell, it'll retaliate along with this guy, and so you've got 3 of these characters on your front line that can retaliate. and they'll continually damage people, go right through the armor. Also, this is a very nice skill, massive leap. When you're getting mobbed by even big boss type monsters that aren't particularly fast, you can get in front of them and hit them with a massive leap. You can keep them back, and that means everybody else can attack them. Also, the main default attack is piercing lunge. It does what does it do here? 4 damage with armor piercing. So look at it, can start off by doing 4 damage, and it goes into this if you put a blue on it, and it's doing 2 every time. And it's got decent armor, decent movement. The health is okay. So my late game offensive line was this guy who I call the alien, princess here, and the knight, and then of course this guy here, the paladin. But this is one of the 4 or 5 good linemen in there. Next up, I have Snapjaw. Look what you can do with Snapjaw. Immune to fire, magnetize, aggro 3, bring the bad guys to him. Wave heal 2, very, very important late game. And spiky 2. Not a great amount of armor, but good health and okay speed. The thing that's good about Snapjaw is it's got a counter swing too, so if you can put a blue on it, it'll just keep hitting things. And it's got this whirling thing with the bleed. So if you put it in the middle or near the middle next to the knight, when it attacks, it'll do all these things. And the good thing about wave heal is that those 2 health will definitely help. If he's in an area next to or close enough to heal the outer guys that you have in your line, it'll really make a giant difference. And you can see here's some of the items it has. Finally, we go down to this character. You may think this is a weak character, but this character has a great use. First, it is super fast, decent enough health to stay alive, and it's got this 5 damage, ignore block, and armor. But this is really nice. It does a slow 5, poison 2 for 2 rounds, and it's a burst 1 for 3 to 5 squares away. What I do with this is on those boss monsters that are immune to fire, you can plop the poison on them and continually plop the poison on them. And at 8 speed, this character is fast enough to outrun everybody and stay out of range of everything except for tower archers. So you can use this character to keep dropping that poison or hitting them out here or dropping poison. It's very, very useful, but not a frontline player. But if you can protect a player or it has room to operate, this is a nice one. Finally, we go over here to the paladin. A nice ability, lay hands. And you see here it heals everybody 3 and heals itself 1. And it has this, which it adds a burning tile. Also, decent on the defense here. And imposing, I set it up to weaken people since it's a frontline player. Very, very nice. And I didn't think I'd still be using this character as late as I was, but I was, up to my surprise. And finally, the number 2 character is the dragon. Had no idea this character is going to be this good. But look at this. The piercing 4 at 4 range, armor piercing. Headshot does 6 damage, armor piercing. And look at the retaliation, 4 damage at lance 4. Of course, this is the only negative. I upped the armor to 7. Best I could, gave it the best weapons and armor. And what you want to do with this character is get a blue on him, get a blue on this character and the cleric, set them up in the front line. This character is almost like a light version of the knight here. It can just totally go to town and rip everybody to shreds. Finally, second character is the cleric. The cleric becomes so powerful late in the game. It's so essential that every operation you take on, it makes or breaks what's going to happen in many cases. The fire attack is very secondary. It doesn't add up to much. But look at the blow far back. This keeps everybody away. The bubble When you assign a blue to it, you get 3 block. You're next invincible unless something's really tough. Cuddle Time deals 4 health to all allies and bursts 2 from the user. So that means you can just heal a giant box just with this. So the first thing you do when you have this is get the blue on this, get the blue on the knight, get the blue on the dragon, and then later on whoever else needs it, maybe like the paladin, and then Snapjaw is what you want to go for. But this character is very, very, very strong. And I've had times where this character has become unprotected and it's been able to stay alive. I mean, not by a lot, but it's been able to keep up and blow the enemies back and continually heal and block so much of the damage. So, second best character. And now the moment you've been waiting for, the best character, late game, early game, mid game, is the one and only knight. I know, I was surprised. This is a character you get from the 4th mission or something, bumping the knight. You don't even have to fight this character to get it. It's given to you. You just have to link up and then in that mission and cross the bridge, which is, I think that was a very fun mission, and it required a lot of tactics. But look at this. Massive piercing lunge. 4 damage to all enemies at lance 5 range. Armor piercing. That is incredible. It'll start shooting things way out there. But what will happen, since this is magnetized, this guy, and even her, is somebody will pull in one of these guys. And that bad guy will be in front of this player or be next to it, and then somewhere down the line, somebody from the back will attack. They'll make the mistake of attacking the knight. It'll go into this retaliatory attack of 4 range, and it'll just hit through everything. Then on top of that, it has snapping turtle. Look at this. Blue special is assigned. Receive block 4, slow 1, only slow 1 now, and gain 4 aggro. This ensures that you're going to block everything, and ensures that the aggro is going to be 9 every time. With that, people just come walking into this thing like moths to a flame, and he just totally destroys everybody. Plus, I give him spiky 2, and you see here, his weapons, I give him the best. And this character can basically do it. The only time he had a lot of trouble was the very last mission where you get those 4 golems, and they're just pounding away, and he had a lot of close calls. But he still survived, and still just continued to dish out damage. So, to my surprise, this character is the best character, beginning, mid, and late. You would never think it would be that way, because a lot of the early game characters like the mage, the rogue, barbarian, candy, they actually turned out to be replaceable, and you needed to upgrade to this guy here, the dragon and the chevalier. You need to upgrade. But the knight held its own. Fantastic character, and now with snapping turtle only taking slow 1, it's still able to move 2 or 3 2 spaces every time, which makes it far deadlier than ever. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and if you have, please subscribe and click like. Thank you.